It is Bible prophecy is happening. There's no question about it. Disciples asked Jesus, tell us, when will the end of the age come? And Jesus answered, and he said, there'll be nations rising against nations and wars and rumors of wars. And when you see these things, it's the beginning of birth pains. These wars that are breaking out in like Ukraine and Russia and Hamas and Israel, these are birth pains, contractions that are escalating, meaning that military hostility around the world is going to continue to increase, just like a woman in labor has birth pains that keep increasing. But it basically, the prophecies about Israel are described in Ezekiel 38 as a very well-known prophecy about in the latter days that these nations will come together from the far north. And it says they will include Gog, Magog, Meshech, Tubal. It includes other translations explain it as being Iran, Persia, Muslims, and Libya, people from Africa, Ethiopia. Nations all gather together and they form a large army, and they devise an evil scheme. They say, we will attack people, unsuspecting people who are living in peace, who are rich in abundance of goods and supplies, and it describes them as living in cities without walls, having no gates or bars, that are people who are rich in abundance of supply, a lot of cattle. And I go, this is not talking about the Holy Land. Modern Jerusalem has completed 40 miles of 20-foot high wall around that city for the purpose of securing that city from the suicide bombers and terrorist attacks, meaning that they haven't been living in a land of peace. They're not dwelling securely in cities without walls, gates, or bars. But it does say in that Ezekiel 38 chapter that they will devise an evil scheme to attack my people, Israel. It says, will you not take notice of my people, Israel, who are living securely in cities without walls, gates, or bars? So the people, Israel, the question is, who are they? And I've done quite a bit of researching about the people Israel. For one thing, the Bible, Abraham was told by God he would be father of many nations, and he became father of Isaac, and Isaac had Jacob and Esau, and Jacob became the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. He's the father of the 12 tribes. So the Israelites today are many nations. It's that simple. The Israelites actually were being freed out of Egypt as slaves, where they built the pyramids, and they were being told by the Pharaoh, get your own bricks, get your own straw to make your bricks, keep making bricks, don't reduce the number of quota of them you make every day. The burden was getting heavier. The Israelites were crying and praying to God, and God heard their cry, and he sent Moses to tell the Pharaoh, let the people go. Anyway, they did get delivered, and the Red Sea and the Pharaoh's army was destroyed. But then Moses led the Israelites for 40 years through the wilderness until it come at the end of his 120 years, where he's still strong, doesn't suffer dimness of vision. He can still see good, and he's still strong. He's told by God to meet God on top of Mount Nebo. Well, hiking to a mountaintop is quite a feat for a young man, but a man at 120 who can still hike to the top of mountains is in pretty good shape, because there's a lot of huffing and puffing and hiking, and you got to stop and catch your breath and stuff. But that's why Moses is in good shape. He had a lot of cardiovascular his whole last 40 years of his life. The last 1/3 of his life is these 40 years leading the children through the wilderness. It doesn't start till he's 80. But when he dies, God tells him, the promised land lies to the west, beyond the Great Sea. Some translations have a little comment at the bottom of the page, say Mediterranean. Well, the Mediterranean would be visible looking westward from the top of Mount Nebo. But there's a lot of evidence. It all points to the fact that the Great Sea is the Atlantic, the promised lands, North America, or maybe even South America, the New World. Because what happens is then Joshua takes over to them. Now they are equipped with new information from Moses right before he died. They got to go west, and they begin to travel westward. And where do they wind up? In Greece. And and now one of the promises that Israel, the father, made to the 12 sons before he passes away in Egypt, because he went there to get food because Joseph had stockpiled the food, and God sent him ahead of him. Anyway, Israel tells his son Judah, the blessing he says on him is the ruling scepter will never leave your hand, meaning that you will be the ruler. And so we see the Greek Empire, which is called the birthplace of democracy, meaning this is the first nation in the history of mankind who did form elected form of representative form of government. But there's the movie The 300 shows the King Leonidas confronting the Persian commander with an army so large their arrows would blot out the sun. He says, "You're talking to free men who'd rather die fighting as free men than live as your slaves." It's my I am convinced we are the modern Israelite descendants of the Greek warriors who were free men who'd rather die fighting as free men. It's in the New Hampshire state motto: live free or die. That's who we are. And we are now facing we're going to be facing another huge army. Revelation 9 mentions an army of 200 million, but that's not for around 3.5 years further down the road, because that army of 200 million in Revelation 9 is why Jesus has to arrive and destroy them with an army coming from heaven in Revelation 19:11. But right now we're watching the nation Israel being attacked. Is basically, if you research it, it was the Rothschilds who were behind them. They set it all up, and it's I don't know that much about how bad they are. I know that we're friends, and a lot of our government and a lot of our politicians and a lot of churches and pastors are all believing that we have to support Israel, because the Bible does say whoever supports Israel will be blessed. But when you consider this continuous development in the history after the Egypt falls and they move westward into Greece, the Greek Empire does have its period of time, and they build amazing stonework, because they're masonry experts. They made bricks and they built pyramids, and that skill and knowledge they take with them everywhere they go. And that's why you see the Greek temples on the hilltops and stuff still remaining after thousands of years. But the Greek Empire falls and it goes westward and becomes the Roman Empire, where you got the same kind of massive Roman masonry work, like the Roman Colosseum and Roman aqueducts, and all kinds of masonry work that they do. And the Roman Empire rises and falls. And then they even go further west as history moves forward in time, and there becomes a British Empire. The sun never set on the British Empire. And they also have amazing castles and structures still standing in Great Britain. There's a castle in Scotland with 12 columns with the names of the 12 tribes at the base of the 12 columns, built in the 11th century. So here it still stands, 1,000 years later, because they know how to build with bricks, and they were expert masons. But they came out of Egypt as slave masons, and now everyone's aware of people called the Freemasons. And the reason people refer to themselves as Freemasons is because the Freemasons knew they came from slave masons. And they emphasize the fact that today they are Freemasons. They still have the knowledge and skill of doing the masonry work. But Satan has been working, trying to corrupt God's people. That's why the money that the Rothschilds, who own the Federal Reserve banking system, have on the $1 bill, the pyramid from Egypt with the eye on the top with Satan. It's the Illuminati or Luciferian. It's all connected. Anyway, Satan has been trying to destroy God's people all the way clear from the time they left Egypt and the Red Sea parted. They had they took all the gold. They plundered the Egyptians, and with all the gold they got, they built a golden calf. And while Moses was up on the mountain getting the 10 Commandments, they had this big golden calf idol worshiping ceremony that Moses came down all angry at him. And so there's been this demonic element following the the Israelites throughout history. And Satan wants to destroy them, and who they are today, because the name Denmark is also like Mark of Dan, tribe of Dan, and the name Anglo-Saxon. In my research, I didn't invent or make up this stuff. I read about it. They say that the name Saxon means sons of Isaac. Isaac, father of Jacob and Esau, the Israelites. I saw a documentary about the Vikings. They're blue-eyed, long, blonde-haired warriors that they were out on the oceans, constantly going this way and that way. And the documentary said it appeared they were constantly looking for something, but the narrator of the documentary said, but we don't understand what it is they were looking for. I go, well, I do. They're still looking for the promised land. Because when you go westward, you go to France, you can see the English Channel 17 miles across is the British Isles. You can go there. You can go north. You find Norway, Scotland. You can find Sweden and Norway and Finland. And you just keep looking around. They say that before Columbus came, there was actually evidence of Vikings being on North America. Leif Erikson or whatever, they found evidence that they had maybe been in here. Anyway, the bottom line is we today are the Israelites. We don't know who we are. That's a very important thing to understand. We are the children of Israel. And we have the DNA of Abraham in our bones because we are his children. The Bible says his descendants will be like sand on the seashore, stars in the sky. This is no small thing. But all the prophecies speaking about Israel, including Daniel 9:11, where it comes right out and says, all Israel is refusing to obey. Therefore, the curses that are written in the book of Moses will come upon them. And it talks about the Lord will turn the rain of the land into dust and powder and smite them with a wasting disease, fever, inflammation, scorching heat and drought and blight and mildew, sores, boils, tumors, and itch, from which there's no cure. It's talking about radiation sickness, nuclear bombs, fallout dust. There's a day of the Lord is coming, but God has a good plan. The plan is to end this wickedness and to destroy the enemies of Christianity, the enemies of Christ, the wicked, the Satan and all of his hierarchy that are ruling this world right now through the control of money and the power that money brings them. And they're Luciferian, and you can look up the Bohemian Grove with Alex Jones shows them doing a satanic ceremony with a 40-foot tall owl statue where they're praying to this demonic force and saying, "Oh, owl of Bohemia, we beseech thee, grant us thy counsel." All the world leaders are going there because they're ruling the world. And that's who the pyramid of global government is based on. Satan worshiping, filthy rich men who are ruling the world because they worship Satan, because that's what Satan said to Jesus after he fasted 40 days. He said, if you'll just bow down and worship me, well, I'll give you all the world. You can be the ruler of all this world. And so these men have made the agreement with Satan. They've sold their souls. They worship Satan. They have unlimited amounts, trillions of dollars, and they're trying to establish a one world government, which is basically what Jesus is coming to do. When Jesus arrives, it says all the nations will bow before him, and there'll be liberty and justice where the Spirit of the Lord is. But Satan's always trying to get the jump and create a synthetic or counterfeit of the real plan that God has. God has a very good plan for this planet. It is to bring the kingdom of heaven to this earth. It's going to involve these birth pains we're going through, but it's actually the best plan ever. There's nothing that could be done that would be easier to accomplish. If it could be done in any other manner, that would be less pain and suffering. But it's kind of like the flood came and had to wash away all the filth in the time of Noah. But Noah got a plan from God 100 years before the flood. You need to build an ark. You need to get ready. There's going to be water everywhere you look for many days. And Noah did it. And when the rains came, Noah was stretched out in a hammock, just leaning back. He could feel the water starting to rise from the rain. At some point, the ark began to float and become buoyant. And at that point, I can see Moses in there, stretched out on a hammock. He's got his food, his animals, his family, and he's like chewing on a straw, humming a little tune like, I'm sailing, I'm sailing. He's content, he's happy, he's taken care of, while all the wicked are out there pounding on the wall of the ark. God is coming to cleanse the world of the wicked. He's coming to look at every man's heart, and he knows your heart. And he knows what motivates you, and he knows what's behind your actions. And he knows whether you're a hypocrite in a church or you're a pastor. I was just reading Ezekiel 33. It talks about woe to the shepherds. They're feeding themselves, but not the flock. God knows pastors. They can know the word, they can be preaching the word, but he knows if what they're doing is trying to grow the size of their congregation by telling them the warm, fuzzy things that tickle the ear, or is he willing to tell them the truth that nuclear war is coming, the day of the Lord is coming, and the day and the scroll's going to break open the seals in Revelation 6, where it does say the Lamb broke open this first seal. And out comes the voice of the white horse with the voice of thunder. Thunder's a massive explosion sound Mother Nature makes, depicting the nuclear bombs going off suddenly in the middle of the night when summer's near. We're being told when. We just don't know the day or the hour. But there's going to be a nuclear attack coming, and God is the one who's doing it. He's letting the enemies do it, just like he let the enemy drive nails into his son on the cross and crucify him, and he put his son through all that pain. But the John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that who believes in him will never perish, have everlasting life. But look what the God the Father did to his own son. Can you believe did he love his son? Of course he did. See, Satan thought that was his ultimate triumph over the Son of God who came, was casting out demons and healing the sick and teaching love and sermons on the mount. The demonic forces said, we want to kill him. We're going to get, this is going to be the end of him. We're going to destroy him. But he overcame death. He arose and he took all the sin of mankind on him. And what Satan thought was his greatest triumph was, in fact, his greatest defeat. It's going to be like that again. The dark forces are rising. They think they're going to be taking over this world. They're going to accomplish everything they want to do. They're going to cause a lot of death and destruction. But in the end, it's going to be their death and destruction. And it's going to be the beginning of a new age where it says, never again will men train for war. It's just an amazing plan God has got, and it's all positive. We just, and for the people who know the Lord, you read Isaiah 3:10, it says to tell the righteous it'll be well with them. It's woe to the wicked. The disaster that's coming is on the wicked. It says in 2 Peter 2:6 that he condemned Sodom and Gomorrah. He burned them to ashes, and he made them an example of what's going to happen to the ungodly. So cities are going to burn. It's the ungodly that get taken out. It's time to clean house. We can all sit around being frustrated about watching what we see as premeditated mass murders like 9/11. We now know that as George Bush and Tony Blair stood in front of the White House lawn declaring we're going after these terrorists, we know that they orchestrated this themselves. They had it all planned. The building number 7 came down with professional modern demolition technology that requires a considerable amount of time setting charges on load-bearing columns and having them go off in time sequence. That's all a pre-planned event. They had it all planned in Lahaina. Look at what happened in Lahaina. They blocked off the city street. They shut off the warning design. They turned off the water mains. They burned all them people. And I heard that a short while prior to Lahaina burning, that they had meetings at their city hall to trying to get Lahaina to go along to be one of the world's first smart cities. They wanted to come in and put in, I don't know what they do to make it a smart city, but they put in 5G towers everywhere and they surveillance everything and they control everything. It becomes a smart city. And the city council denied it, shut it down, and wouldn't have nothing to do with it. They know what happens. They get burned to the ground. This is all diabolical wickedness. We're watching premeditated mass murder.